We begin this morning with a look back at the Russia probe. We are taking a closer look this morning at the probable cause and whether there, in fact, was probable cause to start a criminal investigation into Donald Trump in 2016 and 17. We know that the special counsel found no collusion, no obstruction. We also know that the Obama Justice Department and FBI spied on the Trump campaign. These are facts. But was there a legal predicate, a probable cause, to justify spying one political campaign, spying on another political campaign? This is what Attorney General William Barr says he is investigating right now. Now, so far, the FBI has claimed that it launched an investigation into Donald Trump in the summer of 2016 and spied on members of his campaign because of this man, George Papadopoulos, and a conversation that he had with an Australian diplomat. We are taking that right now directly to the source. Joining me right now is George Papadopoulos, former Trump campaign aide, author of the book Deep State Target. George, it is good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Maria.
I want you to take us back to how this all began, because when you and I were talking about what you went through, it was actually stunning to me in terms of the level of people that reached out to you. First, before we go through this timeline that is really stunning, and I want our viewers to focus on this, I want to ask you, have you ever been to Russia?
I've never been to Russia, no.
Do you have any colleagues, associates that work in Russia or for the Russian government?
Absolutely not. In fact, I was working at a neoconservative think tank for 5 years leading up to joining both the Carson and Trump campaigns, and I was in the energy business.
Okay.
So as an American doing those two things, you're not working with the Russians at all, and you're not promoting their interests.
All right, so let's take it back to the end of 2015, and you are working with the Ben Carson campaign. We've got this timeline here. You are working for Ben Carson. You wanted Ben Carson to win, but you decide you want to give Corey Lewandowski a call, who is running the Trump campaign. You say you're interested in joining.
That's right. Actually, I had reached out to Corey Lewandowski even before Carson, I think around June or July of 2015. I just thought that Donald Trump was going to end up being the president. I thought he was going to end up choosing Marco Rubio as his VP, but
and
no.
He told you they weren't hiring yet, that he would get back to you.
That's right. That's right. And we
Okay.
stayed in touch. I ended up joining the Ben Carson campaign after that.
So you're working for Ben Carson. You're in touch with the Trump campaign. Then Ben Carson drops out in January of 16. So you are left without working. You don't have a job. And somebody reaches out to you on LinkedIn. Tell me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was contacted by this company called the London Center for International Law Practice. I was living in London at the time. I was in the energy business in Europe. And they contacted me out of the blue. We'd like for you to come and work for us as a director over here. And I didn't think too much of it. And I went over there. And this company ended up being some sort of spark that ended up probably changing my life and the last 2 years of this country, because they're the ones that introduced me to this mysterious professor in Rome, Joseph Nipsud.
Okay, don't get ahead of ourselves. So you're working for this center. We learned later that this center actually has worked with the FBI in the past, right?
Absolutely. So all of the officials that I was working with at this company were either connected to, Western governments, Western intelligence organizations, or some of the top partners at the top law firms in the world were affiliated with this company. There were absolutely no Russians whatsoever at this company.
And they reached out to you on LinkedIn. That raises some red flags right there, because I'm wondering why a company working with intel agencies regularly, including the FBI in the past, reach out to you on LinkedIn. Why you? Why did they reach out to you working with Ben Carson? I'm just wondering if, in fact, more people were spied on, like Ben Carson's campaign, but we'll get to that in a minute. They reach out to you, you start working with you, accept the job.
I do accept the job. I get there, and within 48 hours, I'm a director already, which didn't make sense to me. It seemed like it was a fabricated type of position there, just to get me in the room and to meet various people and for them to introduce me to various officials around Europe and even the United States. So it seemed like it was some sort of front company and front job.
So fast forward to March, when you decide you are, in fact, going to join the Trump campaign. You go back to your colleagues at this center and you say, I'm leaving, I'm quitting, I want to go work for Trump. And then what happens?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell them I'm leaving, and they're all furious. Essentially, they're telling me, "Are you crazy? You know, you have such high-level connections here in Europe and then in D.C. Why would you go and work there? You just finished working on Carson's campaign. He dropped out. Trump's obviously not going to win."
Okay, but you decide you're going to do it. You're going to do it, and they say what?
Yeah. And they're just furious. And they say, well, if you're going to end up leaving us, before you go, we need you to go to Rome with us because we have some people there who are going to help you on the campaign. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it, and I went to Rome with them to this university.
Okay, so you go to this university in Rome, and you meet some interesting individuals. Let's talk about that.